We're at a garage and test facility, and I'm on the A list again, so I'm rolling out a very nice ride today. Very nice. A Mercedes Benz S-Class sedan. Top of the line. With the 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Yep, does cost a pretty penny. And loaded with everything, you're talking around 160 grand, so I got off cheap. But it's made entirely in Germany, as I think all Mercedes-Benz should be, but they're not. No problem here, though. When people are driving and see this in their rearview mirror, they know it's being driven by somebody who's arrived in the world. Well, not me, because I don't own this. But I can fool them into thinking I am. Back in the day, if you wanted the top-of-the-line S-Class, they gave you a V12 motor. It's gone now, sign of the times. Instead, we get this twin-turbo V8 putting out 496 horsepower. Smoother, quieter, quicker than the V12. For those who don't need all of this brute V8 power, there is an inline 6-cylinder 3-liter putting out 429 horsepower for like slightly less money. Here's a fuel economy claim, 1725 with a 20 of average. Like the paperwork says, not final, because this is one of the first units off the production line for Mercedes-Benz staff, VIPs, and testers like me only. I'm pretty sure these numbers will be accurate once the unit gets in production. If you're an AMG fan, we also drove the 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLE 45 AMG. That was a nice rig. I have a link for that video at the end of this video. And we had the 2020 Mercedes-Benz AMG E63S. Wow, that was a quick one. We'll have a link for that video at the end of this video as well. So you're getting 3 Mercedes tests for the price of 1. Free. Got a big trunk back here, but I don't see a spare tire. I'm spending this kind of money. I'd like to see one, but let's lift under the panel and see what happens. Nope. I don't even see a tire repair kit, but they're pretty much useless anyway. That's why I'm bringing my emergency box with a couple air pumps, stop leak, and other tools in case I get a flat. And I'm always getting emails from people saying, well, I don't need to worry, I'll just call AAA. Well, if it's a 3-day holiday weekend, everything's closed, and you're 100 miles from the nearest town, see how that works for you. Even if you have a run flat tire, which only goes 30-40 miles, get a spare, guys. The production vehicles might come with one, but check. Another thing I want to do when I get a vehicle is take the headlights out in the dark and see what we're dealing with. German cars usually have pretty good headlights on high beam, but low beams can be tricky. So let's take it out and see what happens. One feature I like about the S-Class, it's the only model that has the ornament on the hood anymore, so people know what you're driving. And there's an interesting history behind this. These used to be totally solid, mounted on the hood, but then some government agencies in Europe said, you can't do that. If you hit a pedestrian, this might hurt them. Never mind the fact that they just got hit by a 2-ton car, run over by a tire. So they had to redesign this to be flexible so the pedestrian didn't get hurt. Yeah, right. And the problem with that, makes them easier to steal. Park this in the wrong neighborhood, won't be there when you come back. In the meantime, let's take a look at the cabin, and you notice how the door handles pop out when I approach the vehicle. Later on they go back in. Wonder what happens if your fingers are down there when that happens. I couldn't find any volunteers. Another thing you might notice, there's this chrome strip under the door on the outside. Looks nice, but it collects all kinds of debris, mud, sand, snow, sleet, dirt. You get in the vehicle, it can get on your pants, so you might want to keep that clean. Before I get in the front, let's take a look at the rear. Lots of room back here. You're going to take a long trip, might be a good idea to have someone else drive. I take a nice nap back here. You just don't get into a Mercedes-Benz and drive off. You have to learn the controls. Very easy to do once you learn what you need to do. Very complicated if you don't. I recommend ignoring the owner's manual. Too much to read there. Also covers different vehicles from different countries. Canadian version, European version. You don't need to read all that stuff. There is a quick guide pamphlet that's slightly helpful. Very easy to read. My advice is to ignore the manual. Just sit in the car for a couple hours, press every button about 500 times, and eventually you'll get it. That's what I do every time I get one of these, and I learn pretty quick. As you can see, most of the operations are done on this big screen. Some people like this, some people don't. It has its advantages and disadvantages. For simple things like radio and climate, I prefer knobs because you can just reach down, turn the knob without taking your eyes off the road. Here, you'll be definitely taking your eyes off the road. And now that I moved out in the sun, you can definitely see the disadvantage here. Got all kinds of nasty fingerprints here, and I cleaned it this morning. Smudged already. Look at the dust coating it already. And you can't see the scratches on here, but this car's only got like 3,000 miles on it. A lot of hairline scratches. Makes you wonder what's going to happen when this thing gets to be 10 years old. As you can see, I'm not very impressed by these large screens, but that's what we're going to move to nowadays, so I guess we'll just get used to it. And here we go with the glare again. In all fairness, this is pretty simple to use once you learn it. So that's one advantage right there. Volume control, no knob. Just slide your finger on this right here. And another volume knob on the steering wheel. And don't send me an email telling me how dusty this is. I wiped everything down this morning. I live in the desert, can't help it. More controls on the steering wheel over here on the left. If you're taking a tour of the cabin in the S-Class, don't forget to stop at the massaging seat program. Nice and relaxing for those long trips. Allows you to choose what type of gauge cluster you want. I prefer the Classic. And here's your drive mode control. Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, or Independent. Take your pick. By the way, this car can spy on you. I'm not going to cover everything. The video will be way too long, but apparently there are like a whole bunch of cameras watching you, watching your eyes, watching your mouth, watching your hands on and off the wheel. And if it doesn't like what you're doing, you'll know about it. The car will tell you. I supposedly turn that off. I know some long trips I get this warning up on the gauge cluster telling me it doesn't like the position of my steering wheel, the position of my seat, and to change it until the green lights go out. And I say, no, I'm not going to do that. This is the way I drive. I'm comfortable. Hit the delete button, and it comes up like 5 or 10 minutes later, and I can't get rid of it. My steering wheel's not going to move. My seat's not going to move, so the car is just going to have to get used to it. We get a nice glove box, and in here there is a perfume dispenser that provides a scent in the vehicle. I like the seat controls on the door, easily accessible. These controls don't move when you want to operate them. They go by touch, which is kind of weird. Doesn't feel right, but you'll get used to it. You get little Mercedes pillows for the headrest if you want. One thing I like about this Benz, the quality of the materials and workmanship, first class all the way, as you would expect. Thumbs up for me. And these seats back here, wow, lots of room, very comfortable. You won't be disappointed when you're in the cabin, that's for sure. Alright, first half of the video, the boring part, show and tell, is over. Second half, we're going to take this beauty out and do some driving. I'm a bit surprised by the power steering. There's nothing wrong with it, but the feel and feedback isn't that hot, and it's not very quick and responsive. I've taken this on some back country roads with tight corners, and Yeah, the response isn't as quick as I would expect on a German performance sedan, but frankly, I don't think 95% of the buyers are really going to care. As far as the brakes, these are very powerful units, as you would expect on a car designed to run down the European freeways at 155 miles per hour. This car will stop if you want it to, no doubt about that. It seems to be a dual system. The vehicle starts to come to a halt, and all of a sudden another boost comes in and halts you a lot quicker. But the pedal's a bit on the mushy side. You really don't know what's going on. There's no connect between the pedal and the car, just like there's no connect between the steering and the car. But again, I don't think most owners will really care. But the main reason to get the S-Class is this fantastic air suspension. Like riding on a cloud. Have it in the comfort mode right now. Let's take some speed humps at 15 miles per hour. Oh, that was so smooth. Oh, was I doing 20 miles per hour? Didn't notice. Here's another one. Here's a nasty one. This will tell us what's going on. First class design. No complaints here. We're going to take a highway trip, so let's reset the mileage computer. We'll see what the numbers end up being. I figure about 24 mpgs we're going to be pretty good if we get it. Might get more, never know. In 343 miles of mixed commuting, we've averaged around 21 miles to the gallon, which is what was expected. We're doing some highway trips, see if we can bump this number up a bit. Our plan today is to take a 120-mile highway trip, but this vehicle is so pleasant to drive, I'll try to find a way to take a 500-mile trip if I get the time. Because I just don't want to get out of it. Very, very comfortable rig. I just keep on driving and not stop. Maybe I'll turn around and go to Las Vegas. I'll think about that while we're driving here. This video might be longer than I planned. Coming to the end of the line. Let's pull over and see what the numbers say. Well, there you go, 28.1 mpg on our 116-mile trip. That should ease some pain at the pump. Even though this vehicle is a porker at 2.5 tons, a 0 to 60 time around 4.5 seconds on a good day is possible. The European models are good for a top speed of 155 miles per hour. In US and Canada, down to 130 because of the tires. It's not about drag racing, it's about overall performance. And there's plenty to go around. And with the all-wheel drive, you have the ability to go out sand duning. See, here we are. And I wonder how far we can go without getting stuck. Turn down to the Mexican border. Alright, we really didn't take this sand duning. Well, you could if you wanted to. Get that black paint dirty in a hurry. Alright, it's dark enough. Let's see what these lights do. We'll check out some of the interior lights as well. Okay, I really don't use heads-up display myself, but I have to admit the one used on this car is really great. I know it's a little fuzzy on my camera. This is a 3D version, virtual reality. Looks far better in person than it does on the camera. If you like heads-up displays, you're definitely going to love this one. Then we're back to the multicolor or other solid colors for the interior. Let's see. Blue, white, multicolor purple and red. Here we go. That works for me. Put the car in reverse and this is what you see. Excellent clarity. One of the best I've ever seen. And we have an old menu of selections here. And the dynamic low beam feature that makes the headlight swivel the same direction as the steering wheel is turning. As well as other features if you put the lights in the automatic mode. I'm not going to cover that because I don't use automatic mode. This video will be way too long. Now that we're out on the street, here's the heads-up display in the real world. Again, a very good system if you like these type of things. Alright, let's cut to the chase, get to the headlights. Here we have the high beams on a wall 100 feet away. Looks pretty good, good low beam. A little bit lower than I would like, but definitely powerful. So here we have the brights on a fence 80 yards away. The building is 130 yards away. No problem here. Powerful lights, as I would expect on a German car. Low beams. Barely reaches out. Great for city driving. But out in the country, you're going to need the high beams. Oh yes, here's another feature. When you're at the traffic light, the front traffic light camera comes on. I don't know why we really need this, but looks cool. And getting back to the headlight test, I said the high beams worked better out in the country. So, let's go out in the country and see if that's true. Yes, sirree, this is what the S-Class is made for, the open road. Quick, smooth, quiet. And with the high beams on, we have a lot of illumination going on here. A lot more than the low beams, as you can see. You need the high beams. Especially with all the wildlife that roams out here at night that you don't want to hit. Skunks, mountain lions, winos. Go, baby, go. And here we can see the difference between the high beam and the low beam and how it cuts off at close range. Typical of many German cars. Like I said, low beam good for city, but out here, not a good idea. Earlier I talked about the dynamic low beam setting that causes the headlights to swivel in the same direction as the steering wheel, which is great on tight corners. You get to look way ahead on the sides. That's the good news. It works pretty good too. Unfortunately, it only works on low beam, not on high beam. So if you're driving slow, yeah, okay. But if you're driving quick, might as well just turn on the brights and forget about the dynamic low beam. Otherwise, you might overrun your headlights and hit something you don't want to. And you don't want to do that. Not out here. You gotta be careful out here. If you hit a mountain lion or a skunk, they throw you in jail. Not a pleasant place to be. So we got a critter on the road. That was a nice little drive, but time to go back into town. Well, it's gotten dark and we're still driving. I have to say, this is one of the nicest suspensions I've ever had on a motor vehicle. That's what you're paying your money for, no doubt. Very smooth, quiet, yet hugs the road like glue. Let's get this in the Sport Plus mode. Well, the engine wants to rev a bit more. The steering seems a bit heavier. I'm not really sure. And the suspension seems firmer. But it could be my imagination. I never looked up in the manual to see what the Sport Plus mode does. Probably intended for driving quick on roads like this. Does seem to be an improvement. This is a very, very nice car. I did notice putting in the Sport Plus mode makes the fuel gauge move a bit quicker. I'm getting very, very close to empty, so better head back to town. Don't want to push this heavy beast to the city. So, after 1 week, 700 miles of driving, and 150 bucks in gas, that's why you should send me Patreon money. I'm going broke driving these things. What's my opinion on this S-Class Benz? Well, it's like this. Mercedes-Benz will sell approximately 300,000 vehicles in North America this year, and only about 2,000 will be the S-Class. Even less with the Turbo V8, so it's a very, very exclusive club. And if you have the money you want to join, I say go for it. Here's some videos of other Benzes we've driven. Just go to the end, click and watch. Well, you're at the end already. Not a problem, right?